And let me say, it's always an honor to be a part of these webinars, to be a part of the Black is Back coalition, to be connected to the International Uhuru movement, and to be in support of the African People's Socialist Party. This is truly a historic moment. It's important that we recognize that. What we heard this morning, again, is a reminder of the situation that we are facing, that we are, in fact, at war. And our responsibility is, in fact, to prepare ourselves and to be able to engage in this objective reality that we face. Because right now, as we have heard, this war is a one-sided war. And our responsibility is to ensure that that relationship is, in fact, altered. We're talking about the war. We're talking about the war and the front line of this war being executed by what entity? The colonial state. It's important that we understand that this colonial state that we are up against is a colonial state that was established, and we're talking about now in North America for a second, in 1609. And basically, the colonial state has been continuous. There's been no interruption. The forms of rule have slightly changed. It became more centralized and national once the pigs that were part of the initial settlement of North America rebelled against the bourgeois enemies or their enemies in the UK and England, and they established through what they call a revolution, the United States of America. But the continuity of white colonial power continued. And that's important for us to understand, that we talk about and we look at the various periods of resistance of our people, of other colonized people. We remind ourselves that this resistance has been focused on one continuous enemy, both in the United States of America, this territory that they call that, and globally as the US transformed itself into a global empire. We remind ourselves, Africans, because we recognize that at this particular moment, that there's a desperation among our enemy, that this enemy state is committed to trying to maintain its global hegemony. It exists as a consequence of its ability to suck the blood, as Malcolm talked about, to suck the blood, the value of the colonized. Without that relationship between the metropolitan centers and the global South, the colonized global South, and the colonized people within the confines of the United States of America and other parts of the settler regimes, it couldn't exist. The international capitalist order would crumble in a day. So as a consequence of the changes in the world and the challenges to US hegemony, the US finds itself in a predicament. And what it has responded to in terms of the challenges to its hegemonic placement is that they have decided that the ideological component that helped to provide the glue that allowed them to continue in their hegemonic position is no longer sufficient. What they are committed to now is using physical force, state violence, to maintain their hegemony, both domestically and internationally. In other words, they have in fact declared war on us, okay? So it's important that we understand that, because one of the frontline elements that they use domestically, of course, is the repressive apparatus, both the domestic army that we call the police force and the various intelligence agencies and structures connected to that. The fusion centers, the FBI, the Joint Terrorist Task Force, all of these are being used against us, against colonized people. And when we understand that, then we understand what we have to do. We've got to build our capacity to resist our capacity to take full responsibility and control over our own internal public safety. Okay, we've got to build that capacity, because we can no longer allow our people to continue to call the police when they think they have a problem in their community. We've seen the results of that when there's issues with family members that may have some kind of mental health issue or whatever. You bring these goons into our community, and then people are surprised when the pigs act like pigs. Okay, so our responsibility is to build that capacity. It ain't enough selling wolf tickets. It ain't enough just complaining. We've got to build the ability to engage in collective resistance. Collective resistance is a human right. Self-determination is a human right. But we're not going to have our human rights realized by appealing to the enemy. We've got to build the capacity ourselves to defend our human rights, to define and defend our human rights. That's so important today, folks, because these folks, as we said, they are no longer concerned with trying to justify their rule through an appeal to reason and to ideals, but they are dependent on naked force. And we've got to understand that. Why are they attacking the Uhuru movement and the African People's Socialist Party? And by extension, the Black is Back coalition and all of us who are involved in opposition. They understand that historically, it is the African people in this country have been the most consistent in resistance. They understand better than we do that if there's going to be a revolutionary process, and it is in this country, it's going to be led by us. So when you attack us, you're attacking the possibility of an effective resistance developing in this country and globally, because we are internationalists. We understand that we are part of a global system, that this is one element of the front of resistance, but that ultimately the liberation of the African continent, the liberation of the African nation, the liberation of colonies depends on us collectively defeating this global enemy. So I thought that I disconnected for a second. So basically, we understand that, and these gatherings that we are organizing are gatherings to remind us of that. They are calls to action, okay? But we also need to have the proper analysis. We've got to understand that the development of our independent ability to assert and to protect our rights is fundamental. We can't depend on too many allies, in particular in this country, because the Europeans are so fundamentally confused. They are finding ways to align themselves. I'm talking about some of the white radicals, some of the white revolutionaries are finding ways to align themselves with their own bourgeoisie. So this is what we've got to be able to understand and prepare ourselves for. Time out for any kind of continuing of efforts that don't lead to a concentration of our power and our forces. Time out for sugarcoating what we up against. Time out for not understanding the objective reality of the war that we are facing. So we salute the Uhuru movement. We salute the African People's Socialist Party. We salute the Black is Back coalition. We salute everyone who's on this webinar who are trying to find a way to serve our people. This is nation time, Africans. This is a revolutionary moment, and our responsibility is to live up to this moment. So we say, forward ever, backward never. Uhuru, no compromise, no retreat. Thank you.
Uhuru,